Welcome DC508. This is my tech tool tutorial video on a website called Soundtrap. Soundtrap is a website you can use to create audio recordings. You could use this to create music if you are a music teacher. For me personally, I teach social studies, and two of my classes, civics and current events, have older students, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And what I'm interested in doing is creating podcasts with them. There's two ways you can start. One, you can start by clicking Start a Collaboration here, in which you can invite other people to join the project with you. So you could have students collaborating with each other on this project, or you could have the teacher collaborating with the students too. And you can add multiple people to this project to work on it at the same time. The other option you have is to simply enter the studio, which is the option we're going to choose for this video. So once you've entered the studio, it's going to ask you to first select a template. It's got some demo templates you can choose from just as an examples. We're going to start from a blank template. A couple tools that you need to know about once you get to this page. One, at the very top, you have this purple kind of pointer almost. This is your tracker. This will help you navigate which part of the recording you want to go to and edit. So you can choose to start at the beginning at 1 second, but if there's a part of the recording later on in second 15, let's say, I just need to drag the tracker all the way to 15 and edit that part of the recording. A second thing to know is in the top right corner, you have two options. One, you could add a loop to your recording, which is just little sound clips that you can add to start the recording or end it. Most podcasts start with some sort of jingle or music to introduce it, so that would be an option I could use for that, just to have a little bit of fun. The other option, just like before, is you can invite collaborators from this page too, just by clicking that blue button. And those collaborators will show up right on the screen once they accept your invite. What I want to do is create different tracks, and one cool thing about Soundtrap is that you can add multiple tracks and layer them on top of each other. So if I wanted to start by uploading a vocal recording for a podcast, I would choose the voice and microphones option. If you are a music teacher, you could have some fun playing around with the different instruments, but for my intents and purposes, we're going to stick to the podcast part. So I'm going to click on that. You've got some settings that you can adjust, like the reverb to make sure that the audio sounds clear. You can adjust the volume to make it quieter or louder depending on which tracks you want to stick out more than others. You have effects you can use as well. One thing I would recommend doing is going to this tab here and changing the voice setting to dry, just to create a clearer audio recording that can be easy to listen to and won't be too fuzzy or echoey for you. So once I've figured that out, I've got my first track right here, and what I want to do is record it. And I can do that by clicking this red dot at the bottom, or by clicking spacebar as well. And you've got stop, rewind, fast forward, and play as tools down here as well. So if I wanted to start by doing my vocal recording, gives you a nice countdown to get yourself ready. This is a sample podcast recording using Soundtrap. Then I stop my recording. I could click spacebar to do that as well. And then here's my track that I just recorded. Now there's a couple options and things I can do with this. That's pretty cool. One, if I click the edit button, I can change how my voice sounds. So if I wanted myself to sound like a robot, I could do that. If I take my tracker and go back to the beginning and click play, this is a sample podcast recording using Soundtrap. So just kind of some fun tools. I'm not sure how much of an educational purpose that would really serve. It's just kind of fun. Other things I could do with this is if I wanted to split this out or take out a section, I can either right click on it and go to split region, or the shortcut to do that is Control E. So if I wanted to split it at the 3rd second and I click Control E, I now have split this recording into 2 sections, and if I wanted to delete one of those sections, I can simply click backspace, or I can right click on it again and just click delete. So that's kind of a cool thing that you can do. You can always go back and undo if you've made a mistake and you want to go back to the way it was before. That's always an option for you. So if I got one track here, I can add another track by clicking add new track on the left. And once again, I've got all these options to choose from. One thing I'm actually going to look to do here, I don't want to go there, is I'm going to actually add a loop just to show you what that looks like, sounds like. So I've got all these different options I can choose from. If I click on one, I can drag it in here. And now I have this to choose from, Soundtrap. If I go to the start, this is a sample podcast recording using Soundtrap. Right, so now they're going on at the same time. Now let's say I didn't want that to be the case and I wanted to split them up, layer them in a different way. What I could do is I can drag this later on in the recording. I can click here, split it, delete the other sections of this that I don't need. And some other cool kind of special effects I can choose to use is if I click on edit, I can have this fade out as I start speaking in that first track. So we play it from the beginning. This is a sample podcast recording using Soundtrap. So that's just some samples of some of the tools you can use, and you can mess around with those to make your podcast or your recording sound as professional and as cool as you want it to be. So it's a way for students not just to collaborate, but also to have a little bit of fun. If we go back to the home page here, I am not going to save this. I'll give it a second to load. While it's loading, the reason why I chose to do this is because I'm reading a book for this class for my book review called Smarter Than You Think by Clive Thompson, and he talks about all the awesome things technology should be used for and how it's actually making us smarter and not making us dumber. One specific example he cites is something called the audience effect, where students will actually produce higher quality work if they're making something for a real world audience. So one of the advantages of creating podcasts is you can publish them and share them with people outside of the classroom, which is something that I would like to do for mine. Here's a podcast sample that I recorded earlier, and I actually was able to import one of the songs that I have on my iTunes to introduce and to close out the sample. So we'll listen to that real quick. Welcome DC 508. This is just a simple podcast that I am creating using Soundtrap. So this is saved here. So at that previous page at the top where it says save, you'd have to click that first. There's a couple different ways you can share this with people. One thing you can do is download it to your computer and it'll save as an MP3 file. You can download it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, share it via email, or what I usually have my students when they make things online is to have a shareable link that they can submit to me, usually through Google Classroom. So you actually can copy and paste this link and share it that way too. So that's just a basic overview of how Soundtrap works. I would imagine it's a tool that would most be effectively used in music classes or in classes with older students, but I don't want to put the teachers with elementary and younger grades in a box either. You might have cool ways you can use this too. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and good luck the rest of this course.